In this lecture, we're going to talk about the console input and output. Whenever you see the term console, this means whatever some screen output and input that we have been seeing, like with NetBeans. You remember whatever we asked to display, it was displayed on a like smart window. This is what we call the console. Actually, the console came up from this. This is the console. So generally, this is where we get to type some information just textually, and then you can see the results of that just in text. That's why we talk about console. But anyways, whenever we say about this console input and output, this means we are going to type some text and we're going to see some text. So this is what we're going to be doing. As opposed to something which is graphical user interface with windows, you have buttons and places when you type text boxes and things like that. We're not going to be doing this for this course. Inshallah, in Java 2, the next course is going to include some parts of that. So in this course, we're just going to focus on the main basic things. And one of the main basic things is that any application, any program, it takes an input, does some processing, and then gives an output. Generally, this is how it works. Think about any application in your mind. It will take some input, do some processing, and give you an output. Most of the applications, this is how they work. So the first thing that we're going to start talking about is the screen output, which is, we've seen some of these. We've seen what the system that output print line do, and we have seen also some things that sorry, some of the other things that we were using in the displays, like the tab /T /N to go back to the line. Let's talk about some other things. And this is one of the things that we're going to look at. Sorry. And the other one is the console input, where we are going to learn how to put some values inside of the computer, and then the computer is going to be working with them and then give us a result. For example, I can ask the computer to ask me to give two numbers, and then I type those two numbers on the keyboard, and the computer is going to calculate, let's say, is going to compute the average and display the average of those two numbers on the screen. So the computer doesn't know the numbers when I'm programming it. It will know the numbers when I'm going to give them as an input. So this is why we're going just to program the general rule. We're going to tell the computer, give us the first number, give us the second number, and then once you have the two, calculate the average and display it on the screen. So this is the plan for today, inshallah. Let's start with the screen output. So we've seen that we need to use system.out.println, print line, so we know we're comfortable with it. However, there's some other versions of it, which is system.out.print. What is the difference between the two? Print line, it prints something and then go back to the line. Because if you print something else, it's going to be on the new line. But if you use print, it's going to stay on the same line. Let me just maybe... So we said that this print is just displaying something and do not go back to the line. So if I would like to display things on the same line, I just use print. And if I'd like to go back to the line, display something and go back to the line, I use system.out.print ln. And this is ln. You remember also that we've seen something like this. If we do something like this, that means we add something to the text. We add it to the right of the text. So any type, when you add to a string, it's going to be, gives you a string every time. So it can be a double, int, float, whatever you enter here is going to be added as a string, because this is not an addition. And if you remember, what's the name of when I'm doing some addition for texts, it has a special name. Who remembers that? It starts with C. No, this is the data type for one character. Now, when the operation of adding two texts has a name. String concatenation. String concatenation. Yeah, of course. Now, anyway, this is string concatenation. You might read it in the book if you see something on the website, on some websites. You see something that says string concatenation or concatenate strings. This means add strings. You will not read something that says we add strings. Very rarely. The right word for that is concatenate. So it's very important that this is the concatenation. However, if you use a number with another number, this is a plus. This is not the concatenation anymore. And I can use any operation actually. I don't have to use only plus between two numbers. I can use minus, multiplication, division, and so on. Okay, maybe let's move this a little bit somewhere else so you can see what are the things that I'm clicking on. Sometimes this might be convenient when I'm coding, because when I'm coding using NetBeans, for example, it's quite interesting when you see what's happening. Okay, let me just delete this. Oh, not delete it, just leave it like that. I'm just going to use this as an example. So let's do something like, let me display something like this, and I'm going to put something like that. Okay, remove this and remove that. So if you see, like, well, for example, if I have something like this, if I run system.out.println and again copy it again, I'm going to see it in 2 lines. This is what we know. But what happens if I just print, just remove the ln, then in 1 line, and you see there's no space between them because there is no space between them. If I would like to put some space, I need to put a space myself. Now I'm just going to see that there's hello the world, and then space, and then hello the world, and no space because there's no space here. Put the space again, and then you run it, you can see the space. So if you'd like to put any spaces, you have to put them yourself. If you'd like to go back to the line, you specify it yourself. If you don't want to, then you're the boss. You choose what you want to do. No, you don't have to, but if you can use them if you want. You don't have to use anything because you're the programmer. You're the one who decides what to do. But what we are going to be giving you in this class, many tools. So when you'd like to build something, you know how that there's a tool that does this, and you'll know that there's another tool that does that, and so on. But you are going to decide which tool to use, because sometimes some tools might lead to the same result. For example, what happens if I use something like this? If I run, this is exactly the same as using something like that, right? So I can do print line and then not put \n, or use print and \n. It's up to me. I'm the one who decides. But generally, if I'd like to display something and go back to the line, I will use system.out.println. If I'd like to do some more customized things, well, I have the means to do whatever I want. So you're the boss. You're the one who decides, basically based on the exercise that you're trying to solve, or the application that you are trying to build. Sometimes you have different means to obtain the same result. Remember when we've seen like this, if I do something like this, and then I do something like this. You remember count this plus plus, what does it mean? So this is exactly the same as this, right? Which is exactly the same as this as well. So different things to do the same thing. Different syntax for the same result. So which one to use? Well, sometimes some of them might be more convenient because they are clearer. Some of them I will use this one because it's clear enough to me. But sometimes the instruction is complicated, so I will write it like this because I want to make sure that I really don't get confused. Things like that. Anyway, what we'd like you to remember that if I put numbers in here, this is what I mean by that. If I put something like this, let's say 5 divided by 7 divided by 6 minus 9 modulo division 2. So this is not a text. I'm not displaying something, but this is a result of some calculation, which is permissible because we said that we cannot use minus or anything else than plus with texts. I cannot use something like this, because there's no minus with texts. But if these are not texts, which is the case, these are not texts, and these are not texts, all of these are just numbers, values. And by the way, if I have something like this, you remember what are the operations that I'm going to start with? Multiplication. So what is the result of this? Okay, let's calculate the result of this. What should I start with? Should I start, for example, I have like these are the same level, and this is a minus, so these are the same level, and then there's the another one. When I have these two, that are the same level, I'm starting from the one from the left, right? And within the same thing, I need to start from the left. So the first thing I do, I'm dividing 5 by 7. The result is? Sorry?
The first step is 7 multiplied by 2.
The first step is 7 multiplied by 6? No. We don't always start by the multiplication. Because multiplication and division have the same weight. So once they are equal, actually. If they are next to each other, we're going to start from the left to the right, regardless of who's first. But they are on the same level, so we're going to start from the left to the right. Same thing with the model division. All of them, they have the same level. So we're going to start with them, but from the left to the right. So that's why we're going to start from here. 5 divided by 7 will give us 0. Because it's 0 point something, right? But int divided by int, don't forget, it's an int. So the point something is going to be thrown away, and we are going to keep only 0. So now this 0 multiplied by 6, that's 0. 0 minus 9 modular division by 2.
0 minus 9 minus.
No, we're not going to start with the minus, because this has priority over the minus. So we're not going to have 0 minus 9, no. We're going to do this first, and then the result is 0 minus whatever is here.
The result will be minus 3.5.
No.
The result will be minus 5.
No.
Minus 4.
What is the result of this? Just this one. Just this one.
4.
No.
4.
No.
3.5.
When you divide 9 by 2, it's 4.5.
No.
And 3.
4.5.
You forgot what is the this is not divided. This is not we do not divide. This is the remainder of the division. So it's not 9. If you have 9 cars to give to 2 people, how many cars are you going to give, and how many cars are going to be left? You give 4 cars each, and you have 1 left. So this 1 left, this is the result of this. So this is going to give you 1. And 0 minus 1, I hope I'm right. Alhamdulillah, I'm right. So this is minus 1 that comes because I used print, not print line. If I use print line, now it's going to print and go back to the line. Okay? So this is a review from last week. This is something that I owed you. You should have reviewed this, okay? I cannot just always do a review like that.
We don't consider it.
Yeah, but you have to do some exercises to make sure that you understand. Because I told you, remember, I told you the danger of this course. You listen, you watch the videos, you understand. But when you try it yourself, you have problems. Why? Because you need to practice. There's your only way out of this course is to practice. Practice exercises. If you just watch out, you see you're going to understand. But when you're faced with questions, you're going to find it harder. You might think, oh no, inshallah, I get out of the quiz, everything went fine, mashallah. I think I answered good. And then you're surprised. Oh, what happened? Just because of these minor, small details, okay? Which program? Well, everything is online. Just take the time to download it. If you cannot do it, just come to my office, and then I'll show you how to do it. You know, it's everything as I showed you. Maybe not you personally, but I showed to everyone that you can go here, and it tells you the steps how to install the program. You need to install the JDK first, and then you install NetBeans. Very easy steps. Next until the end. But you need to download those things first. Okay, let's continue now, because we're just getting started. So we've seen this, okay, this print line, and then print, it just goes on one line, right? Okay. What about this? We're going to display this and go back to the line, and then print this, and next to it, CS102, and then go back to the line, and then I'm going to see Java, and back to the line, programming. So this is how it's going to be. Because I'm displaying this and then go back to the line. Welcome. I didn't go back to the line, but there's a space. If you notice, there's a space here. That's why I see a space here. And then ICS102, it printed this and then went back to the line because this was print line. Sorry? I prefer we share this, because unless there's going to be heard some noise from the videos and people will not listen, no problems. But if you have some questions, just please stop me. I would be very happy to answer them.
The batch selection.
Yes, here, this one.
Do the same thing with the LN.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it just prints and go back to the line as if it's println. I just showed it in the previous in the NetBeans when I was showing. It's exactly the same thing. So let's go back to the line, and this is just to introduce you to that. What happens if I do something like this? If we replace this one with this one, what would be the result?
Java will be the line under.
Exactly, there will be an extra line here, and then Java and programming will be
The same line.
on the same line, next to each other, no space, because there is no space after the A. So you choose when you put the \n, and you just print ln, and that's it. I mean, that's the end of it. Now the most important part, the console input. Well, for the console input, we need to use something special because we need to get something from the keyboard. So this is a new instruction that we need to learn. The new instruction involves learning a new data type that will allow us to get some information from the keyboard. When I say information from the keyboard, can be whatever a type is going to be stored somewhere. So for that, we need to use this scanner. Scanner is a data type, and it's a class. A class is a special data type. And it is not found somewhere which I can find easily. I need to tell the computer where to find it. So this is what this means. It's inside java.util package. Let me show you actually how it is going to be needed. Before using this scanner, before using this, for example, this int, or if I declare any variable, int a, I don't need to tell the computer what is int, because he knows int, what it is. However, if I use something like a scanner, it's going to tell me, oh, I don't know what is this scanner. But luckily for you, I mean, this NetBeans, he will try to help you. He will tell you, look, what this is. If you click on this one, it's going to show you what are the things that you can do. Okay? So generally, this is what we need to do. Import java.util.scanner, which means I need to come back here and type import java.util.scanner. And scanner is capital S. If you type lowercase s, it's going to give you a mistake. Now that I type this, Java doesn't complain about the scanner because now it knows what is this scanner. I told the scanner, this scanner is a data type that you can find it in this place. This is what it means. And what is this place? This place is when you install the JDK, there are many classes that comes and they are stored in different folders. Let's say this is where you can find, this is the folder where you can find this scanner. So you tell the compiler where to find this data type. So I tell the compiler, look, I'm going to use scanner. If you look for scanner, you're going to find it in this place over here. So this is how you should memorize that. Remember that this import needs to be before anything you type, before these classes. So see, this is the first time we get out of this place that I told you. We only type our code within those two braces. Now for the first time, we're going to get out. But when we get out, we type this at the top. I mean, just before the class, just to be more precise. Just before the class, you type it. What happens if I don't do it myself? I cannot use this, but there's something that actually this Java helps me, this NetBeans helps me do, is that if I click on this add import for java.util.scanner, it is going to be added automatically for me. As you can see, this was added for me. So either I type it or I get it added. But I advise you not to add it from here the first times. Why? Because you need to memorize it. So you don't forget it. Because if you forget it, you forget the spelling, then you'll not be able to be answering questions maybe during the quiz, okay? So be careful. I'm just showing you how this can help you, but for now, you need to make sure that you remember what is the syntax. And the syntax is, help me, import java.util. There's no S or util, and scanner, capital S. If you see, it can help you actually with this, just capital S, scanner, and semicolon at the end. So this is the first thing that we need to do. So this is the Java import java.util.scanner, and then we need to, now that we use this, we can use this to declare, but we need to initialize it. And this special variable needs a special initialization. And this is always going to be, you need to memorize this. We're going to be doing always something like that. Scanner KB, this is just the variable name. As you've seen in my code, I just named it, I don't remember, A. I can use A, no problem. It's just the name of the variable. So what I need to type here is this new scanner, which is the same data type, and between parentheses, I need to put system.in. Basically, this is I named it A now in my code, or KB in their code. So this is just the name. I can change this to anything. I can name it Muhammad, Abdullah, whatever you want, as long as it respects the 3 conditions of the identifier. You remember them? First one? No, I'm not saying about the import. About the variable names. The conditions about that needs the variables names need to fulfill to be valid. There are 3 conditions. It doesn't start with a number. Without dash, so it means only letters, numbers, and
Underscore.
well, an underscore, yes. And the third rule is third condition. No,
Not the Java key.
it should not be Java keywords. Yes, it should not be some keywords. It cannot be, for example, char or int or things like that. So this is just a name. You can name it as whatever you want. And let's just, for fun, let's name this Muhammad, for example. It doesn't make sense to name something, a variable, with some names that are really not related to what it is doing. So it's better, for example, to call it input, because it will help me to input something, or call it keyboard, something like that, because you're getting something from the keyboard, or whatever. Give it just a name that is close to the meaning that this is going to be used for. So let's keep it keyboard, which here they name it KB for keyboard. This is what KB stands for. And now, if I'd like to tell the computer, well, someone is going to type, take from the keyboard something which is an int, or a double, or a string, I need to tell the computer what to get from that. So if I'd like to get an int, this is what I should use. If I'd like to get a float, or a double, or just a string, one word, or maybe a string, the whole line, this is what I should ask the user this is what I should use this for. So just as an example, this is if I'd like to ask the user to give me something. Look what I'm going to be doing. We don't need this anymore. Let's remove this. And I'm going to be doing something like system.out.print. I'm going to display, please enter a number. Okay. And then I am going to ask the user to type that number, and then I'm going to tell the computer whatever the user typed, save it somewhere. So I'm going to declare another variable. Imagine that I'm going to declare this as an int, and I'm going to say this number is going to be equal. That means put something inside of it. What am I going to put inside of it? Keyboard dot next int. So this means I'm assuming that I'm getting an int. And now what I'm going to be doing is just you entered, and then I'm going to display the number. So you understand the code, what is it doing? I'm just preparing to read from the keyboard. I'm preparing a place where to save what the user is going to type inside of it. So, and then I'm asking the user, please type something. And the computer is going to wait for me, because there's this line that is going to block the computer. It's going to block the computer as long as I have not typed the number, pressed enter. It will keep waiting for me. And then once I type a number, press enter, this number is going to be stored in this variable number. And now I can display something you entered, whatever is inside of here. So does the computer know what number I'm going to enter? No. So I'm just saying the general rule. Take a number from the keyboard, put it in this variable, and then display the content of this variable on the screen. So do we try this? So please enter a number. What do you want to type? 3. Press enter. You entered 3. Okay, let's do it again and try to slow down the process to understand what happened. When I run this was executed, so it's prepared a variable, this keyboard, to read from the keyboard, and then it's prepared the place where to save something as an int, and then it displays this message. This is what is happening now. Now, after displaying this message, we are in this line. That means the computer is waiting to execute. I mean, is waiting for me to continue from this line. The computer waits for me to type a number because I said keyboard dot next int. It's waiting for me to type a number. So now that I come here and then I type a number. Let's say 3 as it was before. Now, if I type the number, nothing happens because the computer still waits for me to press the enter key. If I press the enter key, what will happen? This is going to be replaced by 3, and this 3 is going to be put in number. Now number is 3. And then if I say display, you entered, and then what's inside of number? What was inside of number? 3. So let's try that. So press enter, and this is what worked. Some questions? Yes?
So if we want to do this procedure, we have to start by scanner keyboard.
Exactly. Everything is using this key. If we don't have this, we cannot get something from the keyboard. So this is what allows us to get something from the keyboard. Yes.
So we need to write number 6 Java. The number 6 that we need to.
What do you mean by number 6?
Important the Java.
Yeah, this import. Yeah, we need to import this. It's very important before, because you cannot use this if you don't have this line. If you remove this line, you have a mistake. It will tell you, excuse me, but I don't know what a scanner is. Cannot find symbol scanner. You see, if you read here, it says, okay, if this mouse would like to stop where I leave it, okay. So cannot find symbol. The symbol is class scanner. I don't find class scanner because I removed this import. It says that it just underlines the scanner. Now if I put back this, I'll tell you this is where you can find the scanner. Now I don't have problems with this line. So in order for me to get something from the keyboard, I need this line. And in order for me to be able to use this line, I need this previous one that says, okay, this is where you can find the class scanner. So you're going to practice this. You're going to remember that. But just for now, I just would like you to understand the process. In order for us to get from the keyboard, we need to use a special data type, which is scanner. And that's, yes?
What do you mean by getting something?
When I typed, okay, that's a good question. Maybe let me try to do something before, let's go back to the previous code. But you remember when we had this previous code with the, okay, remove this, and just when we had this, okay? If I run this something, can I type something and see it on the screen? No. If I type something 5 and enter, because the program has stopped already. The program finished. It just displayed this and displayed this, and that's it. It's stopped. So I did not enter any value inside of the program. So this is what I mean when I say this. I'd like to enter something inside as an input. So now the value here, let's say the value here that I'm going to display here. Do I know what it is? No. When I look at the code, I cannot know what it is because I put some code that allows the user who is using my program, this one, to specify what's going to be inside. So how he's going to specify that? By these instructions allow us to tell the computer, wait for the user, he's going to type something on the screen, so on the keyboard. That's why when you run, you notice that I don't see this message. Why? Because it's waiting for this line to finish first so I can go to this line. This is stopping here. The computer is waiting for you to type something and press enter. And this is what I mean by entering something as an input. So this content of what is inside number is not known until I type it myself. So now when, let's say I type 99, press enter. Now this 99 went inside number, and that's why I can see what's inside number is 99. Any other questions? Easy? You just need to understand something. If I'd like to get a number which is int, I need to use this. But if I'd like to get a number which is a double or a float, I need to use another method, which means here, instead of using next int, if I need a double, for example, I need to use next double. So now if I type 1, is 1 a double? No. But is it okay if I put a small number in a bigger container? Yes. So it's going to be, as you can see, it is going to be converted to 1.0 because this is a double. Let's run it again with 5.5 or 6. It's going to be saving that 5.6. But what happens if I do the opposite? If it was int and I'm trying next double, it's going to give you, there's a problem. You cannot get a double inside of an int. And what happens if, okay, I'm going to put next int, but if I run it, now I'm going to be a bit more fancy. I'm not going to give it just a number. I'm going to put 5.6. What would happen? Big error. Because now I asked about an int, and I'm giving something different. So the program was not expecting something. It was not expecting a double. It was expecting an int. That's why there's an exception. Input mismatch exception. That means I'm giving something that it was not waited for. The computer was waiting for an int. I give it a double. I can give it a string, whatever. If I can do something, and it will just mess it up. I do something like this. That works. However, if I'd like to have a string, now I just change it to string, and now I don't use next int. I just need to use next, for example. The difference between those two is that if I use, okay, but now let's just change it. This doesn't mean a number. Please enter something. Let me stop this. When you run something, just before taking a question, when you run something, you want to stop it before finishing it. This is what you do, because if you keep running again, you cannot. As you can see, this is only running. You can stop it from here. Yes, your question?
We can put double inside there.
No, you can't put a double inside of an int, but you can put an int inside of a double. So if I'd like to read a text like this, I put a string, okay, and then now if I run this, please enter something, and this is what I entered. Press enter, and this is the text that I entered. So whatever the data type of what I'm typing, I need to tell the computer what I'm expecting to get. So this is one thing that you need to be careful about. This is an example. We're going to try this example, inshallah, in the practical part. I'm just trying to see, okay, if I'm following the time. Okay. All right. So in this example, what is happening? Can you tell me what this is? What would be the result of this code? If I tell you, and this is one thing that you need to be able to do, is that if I give you a code, you should give me what is the output of that code. And this is one of the type of questions that you might find in the quiz. So I'm telling you, for example, what is the output of this? Imagine that this is the screen. If I execute this, what should I see on the screen? First thing, I just make sure that there's no mistake. So this is okay. I import in this scanner, and I'm using this KB news scanner system.in, and then I'm printing system.out.print. Remember, notice that this is print, not print line, which means I'm going to see enter two numbers and column, and on the same line I need to type something, and it's waiting for me to type two numbers. I have this KB next int twice, because it's waiting for the first one is waiting for me to enter a number. Let's say I typed 5. So this 5 is going to be, so A, which will have inside 5. What about B? Well, once this is done, it's going to go here, and if I type, let's say 7 and press enter, this is going to be in B. Yeah, we'll have 7. Now I have another variable named C, which has A plus B, which is 5 plus 7, 12, that I put in C. So this is going to be 12. And what I should see, the result is, so the result is 12. This is what I'm going to see. And actually, on the screen, because I type 5 and press enter, I'm going to see it also there. 7, press enter, I'm going to see it. So whatever I type, I see it because I see what I'm typing. So this is an example of a program that takes two numbers and gives you the result of the addition of those two numbers. So notice that we have this import, which is very important. This is how you import the scanner, and then we need to declare the variable of type scanner. Remember the name KB? You name it whatever you want. It can be input, but if you change this here, you have to change it everywhere. Like for example here, if I don't want to use keyboard, I would like to use something else. You see those two? I just can rename it, and with the Control R, If you see, I've seen Control R. This is what I typed on the name of a variable, and then I change the name by just typing it and press enter. Now you can see that both of them are named. I need to, all of them have the same name, which is not logical. And this is where I'm creating this object scanner, so I can use it. And then I'm displaying something on the screen. We're using print. Why we use print? Because actually, when I type something, it's going to be next to the same line. Enter the number, it's going to be on the same line. I don't have to. Okay, that leads me to something. Do I have to display this? Please enter something. What happens if I remove this? Okay, let me go back to this example when it was like an int. Okay, just because it's simple. Int number, and let's have next int. What happens if I do something like this? I just deleted this. Please enter a number. Okay, it was please enter a number. And now I remove this one, and I can remove it by just putting it in a comment. Remember these comments? These are called line comments, which just disable one line. If I run this, it's running. Nothing is appearing. I don't see anything. Is it wrong? No. I did not tell the computer to display anything before waiting for me to type something. So that's why if you're a user and you don't know your program what it is doing, you're going to wait. The program doesn't work. Well, the program is waiting for you because the program was not programmed to display something. He was just waiting for you to type something, a number. So he's waiting for you, the program is waiting for you, and you're waiting for the program to display something. And both of you are waiting, and you're going to be waiting for a long time. So that's why actually the program is just waiting for me to type, and as soon as I type, it's going to continue. That's why it's very important before getting any input, try to tell the user what you're expecting him to do. First of all, just so you can understand that what's the data type of that you're expecting him to enter, and it will show him that you're waiting for him. The computer is waiting for him to enter something. So that's why this is going to be a rule for you. Every time you're getting something from the user using this scanner, you have to put some system.out.print or print line before. The difference between now print and print line, just as you can see now, if I type 6, for example, it is back to the line. But if I use print without print line, no, I meant to just run. Now if I type 6, you can see it's on the same line. It's maybe better for the view that is more organized, something like that. So this is the idea behind that. Yes.
What will be the result? We put the number before system computer.
What do you mean the number?
Equal input.
This one here.
Yes.
What would be the result of this if we put this one before?
Yes.
Well, the same thing. You're not going to see anything displayed, and it's going to be waiting for you to type something. So once you type something, let's say 8, it's going to run this first and then run this next. So you can see, please enter a number here, which is this code over here with the space, and then you entered, and then whatever I typed, this is 8, and go back to the line. So the order is very important. The system.out.print line or print should be before the next int or next something. Okay? Any question? So there's something about this actually. When you put something like that, when you have like two next int next to each other, there are two ways to deal with them. Let's say please enter two numbers. Let's say I would like to enter two numbers, and then I'm doing like they did. Let me rename this to A, so they can have int A, B, and C, and I'm going to do something like this. So this is A, this is B, and in C I'm going to put A plus B, and the result is what was the result is, so the result is, and then the display C. If I run this, please enter two numbers, you can see that I can type 5, enter, 8, enter, the result is 13. Actually, I can do it also in another way. If I have two numbers, I can put them one next to each other, separated by the space. and then press only enter once, which means the first value is going to go to the first variable, the second value separated by the space going to go to the second variable. So there's two ways to enter them, either by spaces and then one enter, or just enter every time. Same idea. Does it make a difference? Does it have to be only one space, or maybe 8 spaces would be enough? I mean, one is enough. If you put 20 spaces, whatever, it's going to be the same thing. Okay, so this is like enter two numbers. If you put like the space, is going to be, and then press enter, then it's going to go here. This is the first number, the second number, and the result is 17. So it doesn't matter if you put many spaces, this is what I'm saying, and tabs or new line enter is going to be the same. So this is what, same thing, that all three will be the same result. So we said that next will give you only a word. Okay, for example, if you type something like this, this is the first one is going to go in the word number 1, and the second one, because there's a space between them, is going to go to the next word. This is the result between next, because we use only next. Remember, there's something that we've seen in the slide before when we were talking about, yeah, here, this one. There's this. To get a string, there are two ways. Either you get one word at a time, or you get the whole line. If you'd like to get the whole line, you need to use next line. Give me the whole line. If you use only next without anything, there's no next string, okay? There's just next. If you use next, it is going to take only one word of your sentence. So that's the thing here. Okay. I'm just typing ends so I can skip quickly. Okay, and yeah. This is the same idea. If you type also on two different lines, or just because there's no space between them, it's the same result. However, if you don't put spaces, then that's the same result. Well, let's have a look at another example of, now this is a good program that we're going to try, inshallah, in the practical part. What about this thing over here? This code over here is importing the scanner, declaring this KB to be able to read from the keyboard, and then we print enter the student's name, and then we get the name of the students with next, and then we display enter the student's 2 scores. So the student has 2 scores, X and Y, the 2 scores as double, and then we display the average score for the name is, and then you see the result of this calculation, X plus Y between parentheses, the result of this divided by 2, and the result of this is going to be added to this thing over here. So now this is just doing some like some sort of a summary using different data types, using a string, or using another data type like a double, and then we're displaying them all in once. Notice that this is a text, and what is the data type of name? String. So this means a text plus a text is going to be a text, and then plus there's this is. Notice the space between these two. And then this is a number that is going to be calculated based on what the user entered. So now in this example, what we did, we entered some I don't know, so in this example we're using different data types, and we're getting some program that makes more sense. So you can type the name of the student and then the scores, and then it's going to calculate the average of those two scores. Of course, what would happen if we'd like to have more than 2? If I'd like to have like the scores of having a score of 3 instead of just 2, what would be the change that I need to do?
Three scores.
I would like to have 3 scores now, not only 2.
Say double Z.
double C.
So I need to include another variable, double C or Z, whatever. Keyb.next double. The same line, the same code. And then here, I need to have this plus somewhere, this plus Z somewhere. And just change this to 3 instead of 2. So very simple. And this is the type of result that we're going to have. So this is enter the student's name. This is what would happen. And then the user will type whatever his name is. Remember, notice that this is print, not print line. That's why it's on the same line. And then when you type the name, press enter. This Ahmed is going to be inside this variable. And then we're going to see enter the student's 2 scores. So you type, for example, 92 space 87.5. Press enter. The 92 is going to go into X and 87 into Y. And then this is going to be calculated. The average is going to be calculated and displayed. So the average score for Ahmed is coming from here. Space is, and then this is coming from this calculation. Yes.
If I want to put a comma between 92 and 87, can I do it?
No, you can't. If you put a comma, it's not going to be. The comma is not a separator between different values. So it's going to be giving you a mistake, an exception.
Just to be more organized.
Well, you put them, if you don't like to have the space, you can use the enter. So each one will be on one line, so maybe it will be more for you. But if you put a comma to separate different values, this is not going to be an acceptable, result. So just to summarize, there's something what we said before. Always prompt for something before you ask the user to type something. Display, tell the user what you're expecting him to be doing. So you don't end up waiting for the computer to do something and the computer is waiting for the user to do something. So to avoid that, always prompt for an input. You should always ask the user and to explain to the user what he should be doing. And these are in the scanner you can have like not only next int, there's next long, next byte, next short, next, a lot of different next that we can use depending on the data type that you're using. And so next boolean, you're going to maybe use them. So we're going to see some of those things inshallah later on. And we end up with just have a look at these sections 2.1, 2.2 in the textbook, and that's the end of this presentation. Do you have any questions?